What's up, Sooner Nation? Hey, Chris Griffin here with another episode of the Horns Down Podcast. Today, I'm here with my guy Jason from Hall of Fame podcast. Jason, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, man? Doing good, man. How was the game?
Hey, it was great. It was great, man. It was cool being there. Here's what I had to say. Okay, we're gonna make this a quick one. Not gonna make it here too long. But we got some people who are gonna fall in. Maybe some people who will join or whatnot. The link is open. But definitely, everybody chime in with your thoughts as far as what you thought about the game. If you were there, if you weren't, whichever way, definitely let us know. Jason, you got to watch the game, obviously, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into it, man. Let's just jump right into it. This is an instant reaction, just kind of raw, fresh, all of that.
Yeah.
Let's go defense first, man. I'll just take the lead real quick and just say, man, I was really impressed with the defense. Just the overall, how should I say, the better understanding of what the defense is asking, but the athleticism on the field is by far uh, uh, leaps and above, just leaps and bounds better than what it was last year.
That's what I saw. That's what I saw first thing. It's just one of them deals where you look at it and you're saying, yeah, this isn't what you see. This is not what you're used to seeing here. As far as that go, I mean, in the backfield all the time. Um, I thought Dylan played pretty good for the most part, but I mean, he was getting hurried. He was getting
Yeah.
harassed, scrambling around pretty good. But I tell you, there was a couple of times that they could have put a hit on him. And Desan McCullough, holy crap, man, that guy was he just seemed to be everywhere you wanted him to be, man. It just I was excited with that. Yeah, I think everybody was pumped up from Coach V pumping up the old heads before the game, and so you know,
Yeah, no, that was definitely something in itself. But no, I mean, just like this coming here, the size is better all over the defense. I mean, it is. I mean, you have size in a lot of different positions. One
right,
position that I want to key in on right now is that cheetah role. I don't think there's going to be a significant drop off between Harrison or McCullough. I really feel confident going forward with that position this year because I think that you have a one and a 1A. And
mm-hmm.
who's going to be the one? They're going to have to separate themselves, obviously, in the summer going into fall camp. But I'm really confident in that position. McCullough just flies over the field. I mean, he looks like a guy who just naturally wants to get off of, after the quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just looking to hit somebody. Whereas a guy like Harrison is a ball hawk. I feel like that's what he could potentially be for us this year. It's just a guy that you can't take advantage of because
Right,
he has the size, the athleticism to be able to play that position, but to be able to play all over and to counter whatever you're wanting to do. You got to think about Harrison. One of the things that people are forgetting is the fact that, I mean, coming out of JUCO, he was one of the top players in the country.
right,
You know,
right.
so I think I was definitely impressed with what I saw in that position today because there really wasn't a drop off. Both guys, they have similar traits, similar characteristics, similar mannerisms out there,
Right.
but they bring two different skill sets to that position. And one is really growing into that position, which is McCullough,
Right.
because he's going to be able to do a lot. And his potential, his ceiling is through the roof
Oh,
right now.
good grief. Yeah. I mean, this is what he looks like in his spring game after his freshman All American season. I mean, you can only imagine the development strides he's going to take over this season. I mean, athletically, good grief, man. He's just got all kinds of games. So it's exciting to watch. And the linebackers all around. I mean, I saw Danny Stutzman doing what Danny does, getting to the ball, flying to the football, Kanak doing the same thing. You just saw a lot of these things that you've been hoping to really see. When it comes to even I mean, you start like in secondary was making hits. Obviously Peyton Bowen getting in there. What a great coverage! I mean, he gets an interception on that. I mean, you would hope that the receiver does a better job of kind of fighting that off. But to be able to concentrate on that deep ball like that and make that play like that,
Mhm.
and this is a freshman. You know, obviously he's a 5-star kid, but I mean, good
Well,
grief, man. I mean, all around the field, you just saw things that you don't necessarily
mhm,
the push that we were talking about. You know, that all last season, what did we talk about, Chris? That they're not getting any push up front. They're not getting into the backfield and hurrying these guys. And really, they were doing that today. So that's the things that I was looking for. And Matt, yes, absolutely. It looks 1,000% different. It just looks different.
so here's one of the things I'll say about that play that Bowen made. I was in the area close to the field where and I got to see that play firsthand.
Yeah.
I don't know if the receiver could have did anything better because he
Right.
just sat on top of the route and he just watched where the ball was and he made an incredible catch himself to be able to get that. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I mean, for when and a lot of DBs at this level, you know, especially when early on, they have a hard time covering the guy and keeping their eye on the football. So
Mhm,
that's kind of next level stuff. This is why you see him as a
mhm,
5-star player because he did things that were next level already,
mhm.
obviously in high school. But to be able to bring that to the field, you
Yeah.
know, at the college level, and against a real deal receiver, a real deal quarterback, you know, big
Well,
play, man.
let's talk about this real quick, okay? Let's talk about the secondary. I mean, to be honest with you, secondary they look like they have more continuity, like they have more chemistry back there. They know what's going on.
Mhm.
They're recognizing things and they're actually reacting. They're recognizing, but they're reacting. And so the reason why I say that is because they're not thinking they're not having to just think to slow the game down. They're just reacting, and the game is slowing down for them.
Right,
So
right.
you feel like those tighter coverages or whatnot, because especially when the offense was able to move the ball and get to the goal line, things really tightened up. Um, but I definitely like what I saw from Woody. I like what I saw from a lot of those guys who got to play. You know,
Yeah.
all the way down to Wagner. Like I thought the
Bro.
secondary looked pretty dang good.
Uh, Again, there really wasn't a lot of places that you're like, man, you know, you had that play that I mean, and it was just a good play call, you know, where they drew it up for Sawchuck out of the backfield. You know, they moved the play action away from him, and he was wide open in that flat out there. I mean, obviously that's a missed assignment, but you're going to see some of that. And honestly, you're going up against uh, a real offensive coordinator here that's going to draw it up and a real quarterback. So I think that they did some things that you really that you like. But yeah, Matt, you're hitting home runs right here, Matt, too, with Reggie Pearson. I mean, he popping. You know, you could hear that pop on television. You know, I mean, he's bringing the pads in, and he's gonna hit your ass. I really like that guy. Um, and as far as yeah, I would agree with that next one too. But listen, more than anything, and you kind of expect the offense to be a little behind if you know, it should be that way at this time of year. Um, but not what you've seen. It's just not what we've seen out of this defense. So to me, it didn't seem like they were hesitant about where they were supposed to be, which
Yeah.
is what, you know, that gap, you know, the gap assignment, you know, being there where you're supposed to be. And they weren't, it's not like you said, they weren't overthinking it. They were getting to the football,
Mhm.
but they were where they were supposed to be. So there
What
wasn't that hesitancy to make a hit or
I-
whatever.
I'll tell you a guy who had and I'm gonna switch gears on the defense. I'm gonna keep going level by level, but I'll tell you a guy who once again he had a really good spring showing. That was Kip Lewis. I mean, Kip Lewis was flying all over the place and he was
It sure
making plays.
was.
Coming out there on the very first drive, him and Kobe they were flying. They
Mhm.
looked like, hey, we don't forget about us. We
Right.
know we got guys coming behind us. Don't forget about us. Like
Yeah.
Kip,
Yeah.
Kip was being heard early and often, and was getting a lot of tackles. McKenzie was doing his thing. Like I said, you can't take anything away from Stutzman. Stutzman's going to be your starter. I feel like he's the leader of the group, but I feel like
Sure.
Stutzman, Kanik, I feel like they did really good things as well. But I definitely was impressed with that second unit. To be honest with you, I thought
Kobe,
that
yes, I thought that
yeah,
Kobe looked really good too, man. And he's been looking that way the entire spring. Everything that you hear out of practice is that he's pushing for time But I know everybody wants to see Kanak in the game all the
Yeah.
time. I think this is a great problem to have, that you're pushing him in a big way from Kobe. So to me, I'm excited about that. That's one of the things that, again, you come into this game hoping that you see something different, see something new, because the last time we saw this defense out there, the last 2 games were not good, and so something that you want to look like, wow, this is different. You had Lacey getting dropped. I'm going to stay on that defensive line a little bit.
Go ahead.
Even when PJ Adebawari, when he gets in there early in that second half, man, he was moving and getting to the quarterback. I mean, he looks like he's a pain in the ass right now for anybody to deal with. That's just all there is to it. And then you had Jacob Lacey that was, batting balls down, getting push at that defensive tackle position. Obviously, Bothroyd, man, that dude is a freaking animal. I mean, I was hoping that's what we were going to see from this guy, because everything you see from when he was at Wake was
translated.
It did translate, and it did, and that's what you're hoping it was going to do. But I think that you come into this thinking, this is a weak area for us.
Yeah.
And it kind of looked like it's not as weak as as it's been. In fact, it may be a strength. So
if we can get a healthy Trace Ford out there to mix it up with R. Mason Thomas, who's a guy we're about to talk about here in a second. But if we can get him to mix it up with R. Mason Thomas and Bothroyd, I think that we're going to have answers if Grimes and Ethan Downs were not able to get it done this year early and often, in my opinion. I'm really, really feeling better about our edge. I thought PJ did some good things. I think that for PJ, for me, I think it's all about getting still getting in the weight room and just working on his strength. But I think he's going to be a guy that you see on a lot of third downs. I think he's definitely going to get a lot of snaps this year. I thought R. Mason Thomas looked bigger, but man, it looked like his first step got faster. And he looked like he was just having fun out there, but he was getting in the backfield an awful lot. And that's a guy that showed promise last year as a freshman.
Yeah, he did, and I've been excited about him too. I don't know. You look at it from the front to the back. I mean, you even have the corners. They were. I mean, yeah, you were talking about Woody. You come to expect that from him. Woody Washington's been a baller since he got to Norman. He was a baller in high school too. So it's exciting to watch him kind of continue to do his thing and kind of holding off these young kids, but who are coming. Guys like Makari Vickers and Josiah Wagner. I mean, they're coming. And then you have, obviously the JUCO transfer that we had coming in. Help me with his name again one more time.
You talking about Kendall Dolby?
Yeah, Kendall Dolby.
I thought Kendall Dolby showed a lot. I thought he showed some good things out there as well. Yeah, I think that he's still trying to figure. You could tell he's one of the few players that's still trying to kind of figure things out. But the talent is there, and the plays that he was able to make during his JUCO career, those plays are going to translate to Saturdays. I
think so too.
It's just a matter of time. So I'm giving him more time to develop into that role, but I'm definitely confident in our secondary, and I think that people are going to be pleased with that. And we didn't even get to see Gentry this game, but
Gentry Williams.
Yeah, I think people are going to be really excited with the prospects that we have out here as far as how good we could be. This secondary will be shored up this year. I do believe that. I'm not going to say they're going to be amazing. I'm not saying we're going to win a national championship or they're going to be shut down. I'm saying that they will be better, they will be improved, and they will be something that
we talked about this a lot. Yeah. We've talked about this a lot, Chris, is that what we need out of them with the offense that you have. What you need is a top 60 defense.
Yeah.
That's what you need to get to. If you can do that and realize that you still have a lot of youth on that side of the football, that's what you want. And that's what you expect out of them. A top 60 would have gotten them 10 wins last year. I have no doubt about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll let you answer this question from Matt. How did Reggie Grimes and Ethan Downs look? I really think I didn't really see those guys out there. Did they play? I mean, yeah, they played.
Yeah, they did. And I think that from what I could tell, Ethan looked okay at times. I think that there's still that. I just think that speed-wise, he's not going to get by those dudes on that corner and the route that he's taken to the quarterback, and it's hard to really. I have a hard time really judging a lot of what was going on in that second half because you had the twos and everything else going in there, the 2s and 3s and all that. So, I mean, you're going to get all the playing time in that second half, and that's really when you saw Ethan and kind of Reggie too, that. Honestly, I think that they all looked really good. I mean, it just didn't. I feel like Ethan needs to move inside. I've been saying that. I think that he needs to.
We both said that. We both said that.
I just think that's where he belongs.
First conversations we ever had, we was like, "What?
He needs to be
become best friends." I was like, "Yeah, I agree."
Yeah, listen, I've been saying it. You've been saying it. He's not going to be. He's never going to be what we know that we're about to see out of PJ Adebawore. It's not the same thing. And this is a big, strong, really good athlete for a kid. I mean, and I think that I see him more in that Bothroyd mold. You know what I mean? That he just kind of seems more like that dude to me. I mean, and I feel like Trace Ford's probably going to end up moving in a little bit too, some on there. You know what I mean? I just think that that's probably going to be what happens. So I didn't really see him. Did you? Maybe I missed him, but what did you see out of Trace? Did he play much?
I don't think Trace played. I think they're still.
I didn't think he did either.
They're taking baby steps. I mean, they're trying to rapidly feed him as much as they can with the playbook. But as far as actual kind of like snaps or whatnot, they've been really light with him on the spring. They're trying to bring him along because
right. I know he was talking about it, and I saw him in a article the other day. So, and he's loving it. I know that he's enjoying Oklahoma. I didn't know if he was going to get a lot of looks in this game at all, if any. So, it was. But it's again, I just feel like, just what Matt said. I think that he's a bull rush kind of guy because he's not going to be that speed dude to get around that edge. You want him to go through you. Okay. His strength is that,
Okay.
He did play 2 series. Okay. I missed him. I'm glad you saw it because I missed him too.
I definitely missed him because I was really paying attention to the secondary for sure. Hey, one thing I will say about Vickers is I know Vickers is your boy. Yeah, I think I wonder what Vickers is going to look like 2 years from now with Smith.
He's a big dude, isn't he? Yeah. He's already a big dude. That's what I'm saying, bro. Those last 3 months before, the last 2 months right before he got here, right? And you saw him working out with his guys back in Florida, and I mean doing those box jumps and stuff, and like where they're jumping with that big heavy rope and stuff, and like they're hopping through this place and. Dude could have dunked a basketball on any one of them. This guy's legs are tree trunks, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we were like, man, I don't even know if Smitty needs to mess with this kid. He's got it. You know what I mean? Can you imagine? Yeah, and his speed is different too, bro. His speed is just different. It's just, I think there's a lot of years that's a 5-star kid. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of years that he's a 5-star kid.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I just think I think that some of these younger players, a lot of those players, I think they're still developing, but you could see that
difference.
Yeah, you can see the difference that it's making, especially with the defense. Here's a question. Let's go back up here real quick. Matt brings Shane Witter. I think Shane Witter. Marcus Stripling, guys like that. I mean, they obviously they played today, but I guess just are we waiting? Waiting this out for the next couple of weeks to see what happens with those guys. Do you think that they stick it out, stick around, or do you think that guys like that try to hit the portal?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's there. You kind of have different feelings about it. You don't want to see too many guys leaving, but the truth is there's some guys that are out there that you're probably going to need to go get, and we're kind of up against it with scholarships at this point. And it's kind of like what Jay was saying on his show that last week when I was on with you guys. You got to have some of them leave. You're going to have to filter some of them out. to me, I don't know that you do yourself a whole lot of good if you're not in this rotation right now. It's only going to get harder, you know. So if you're not making it into the rotation today, when they've just started building up this depth and getting talent in here, if you're already behind the 8 ball, I think that it's better for the player to go ahead and go. So, when it comes to Witter, I don't know what's going to happen there. I feel like it's one of them deals where you could see it, I don't know. I like him, but I just think that maybe he's one of those guys. I don't know. What do you think on it? Because I was going to ask you the same thing.
It's kind of hard because, when the Carter kid comes in,
Lewis Carter, you've got these guys that are still on the way. You know,
I mean,
obviously you still have
talking about Sammy
Omosigho, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for him to find time, and at that point, I mean, I think that those two guys are two guys that are probably going to make a big splash. I mean, and I know you already have a bunch of guys playing linebacker that are doing good. So that's why I was asking. I mean, what do you think? I have a hard time with it.
For him and then a guy like Marcus Stripling, I don't know. I'm not going to say the writing is on the wall. I'm not going to say they can't find a position. Hell, like I've told Ty and all of them time and time again with Venables defense. I'm like, hell, he's won national championships with walk-on starting at middle linebacker, calling it his defense, So that's kind of something that I think that we all need to keep in mind. So I'm not saying that he can't carve himself out a role or some time, but that's something that I think they definitely need to figure out. Stripling has all the talent in the world.
I think he does too. But again,
the injuries and all the rest of that, especially for those two on defense, they just piled up so much that it's like, I'm not saying that they're a step or two behind, but I just think that, I don't know, they're somewhere between the writings on the wall and they're just kind of, just some guys that are coming up, some young guns that are coming up that are just that talented,
I think so too. And I mean, when you already figure, I mean, we were just talking about Kobe and we were talking about obviously with Jaron Kanak, Stutzman's not going anywhere. And then you bring in Dasan McCullough, who was a freshman All-American at linebacker last year.
Yeah.
And yes, he's going to move out into the cheetah role probably a lot of the time. But I mean, Lewis Carter's still coming in. Sammy's still coming in. I mean, you're talking about two guys that are probably going to press for some playing time. And if you haven't really already made your bones on this defense, what's the opportunities going to look like?
Yeah.
And I mean, if it's me, and I'm not even saying that I don't want to see them in, I'd love to see what they can do. What I would tell you is that I feel like you're going to get a better opportunity if you go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because the guys that are coming in are just, they're just not, these are difference making kids. I mean, Lewis Carter, the Under Armour game, and Sammy looked the same in the All-American Bowl. I mean, obviously they're not there for the spring, but it already right now, Stripling, he didn't really play until the second half, did he?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know. I can't see what it would be. I don't see how he gets in enough time for him to really have a shot at going anywhere. I mean, at this point of your career, if you're Marcus Stripling, you got to be thinking about either the NFL or being done. So if you're not going to get any playing time here, development time or in time on the field, I mean, the NFL's out for you. You need to go and find your place to play.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Going to Hanks come in, Halton did look good. Halton definitely, he looked good. And Halton looked good last year. He was one of the few guys on the D-line, or at least the interior D-line, that you didn't have any problems with being out on the field. Every time he was out there, he did good things. He would make a play or two here and there, but he always would. He was consistent. I mean, he either he was good or he just wasn't that good that day, or at least that snap. I think that's another thing that kind of begs the question. Gilliam. A lot of people, I know myself, really excited about Kevin Gilliam, but what is his future hold? Because the whole thing is injuries. Another thing, an injury kind of set him back as well. Halton really came into that role. And
Right.
that's not to say Kevin Gilliam played bad last year when he got to play.
I
He
don't
was
think he
another
did
one
either.
of
I
the
think he
guys
was.
that you didn't have a problem with. But
What's your best availability? What's your best ability? Availability. And
yeah,
that's once it kind of gets to that point, where you've been not available, and so you haven't been able to show yourself off a little bit. And I mean, and some of these guys are still guys that are left over from the Lincoln Riley era. So you got to start thinking about, okay, well, these are guys that Venables is bringing in. They're making their promises to them about what they're going to do with playing time and stuff like that. And if you haven't already shown them that they need to have a reason to be, to show you some kind of favoritism to get more playing time, you probably it's run its course. And so that's where I feel like it's not even nothing against these guys. You know what I mean? It's just a fact of this is a new staff and they're going to play their kids. That's just how it's going to be. And the guys that are coming in here are difference making kind of people. You'd get one or two before, Jay's always correcting me on, wow, we had guys that were good, coming in with Lincoln, and yeah, one or two here and there. We got a group of dudes that are freaking filthy coming in here right now. Whether it be through the portal or it be being through the high school ranks, they're getting a group of kids, not one or two that are going to make a difference. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm. No, I definitely, I agree. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, you got these guys that are coming in, and some of you guys are they like you and they love the effort and all the rest of that. Sure. It's just one of those things where it's college sports. They recruit over you. They recruit.
And you were a college athlete. You know the deal here. It is what it is right now. This is major college football. This is national championship level college football.
Well,
where the expectations are there. So this is not going to.
Yeah, I told my aunt, a few. I think maybe a week or so ago, I was like, with us having the recruits, having these guys on campus now, they're signed, and then now you're looking at the next recruiting class where this could potentially be an historic recruiting class.
Right.
Guys, we picked up Jaden Hardy today. Obviously, that was a big pickup. Yes. But I told my uncle it's kind of weird because the philosophy on recruiting has changed so much. The focus on recruiting that is different, where you're trying to stack these classes and you're having talent. Mm-hmm. It's almost where I kind of feel like, damn, like are we taking too many people at this position, or are we doing this? And I often forget that, damn, that's what Alabama does. That's what Georgia does.
It allows you to have real competition at those positions.
Venables and Bates, that's what they did at Clemson when they were there.
That's right.
A lot of these other national championship teams, especially in the SEC, that's what they are. That's what they did. It wasn't taking a quarterback, and this is not a shot at Lincoln, but I'm just going to say it for what it is. No. This is not taking one quarterback every other cycle.
Right. Right.
Like this is we're recruiting every position each year. That's right. So it's different, and it feels foreign simply because we haven't done that in so long, So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of think about why is it that our defense has never really lived up to that, even though you've gotten some guys here and there every other year they'll pick up somebody. So every once in a while, you're going to put together a nice little defensive package. But you think back to the years of Coach Venables when he was here at Oklahoma, and I mean, they had Gerald McCoys of the world, and obviously, I mean, dude, there was amazing defensive players all the time there. You're talking about Teddy Lehman and guys like that they were coming through every cycle, and it was so competitive to get that spot and I think you're right about that. You hit the nail on the head when it comes to Alabama and Clemson and those kind of guys, is that, that's why they've got 3 first rounders in one draft before at the defensive line position, because of the fact that they've got 6 or 7 of those dudes that are fighting for time from the time they get to Clemson, and from the time they get to Alabama, and now from the time they get to Georgia. This is what is going on, waves of dudes, just like Hank just said. And so now you've got all these things that's happening where this is what you're going to see here. Yeah. Are you going to see guys walk out the door? Yes, you are. You're going to have to. And folks, we got to get used to seeing it. We got to get used to seeing it and not freaking out about it, because sometimes they just don't translate to what that star number said. You know, sometimes they just don't.
And I'm one of those people who can't freak out, because that's the fear. But that was created during the last regime, you know. So
right, and it was starting to get that way at the end of Stoops' time as well. You know, once Coach V left, things changed. You know, we're talking about 12 years. You know, things were just different. They were different with Stoops' brother, and I'm not even bad mouthing them. I'm just saying things were different. And so the way that they recruited it, the way that they, you know, again, there wasn't that kind of competition. Yeah, you were picking up your Jalen Redmonds every once in a while, and you were, you know, some of these guys like that were coming in. But think about it. This past recruiting cycle, they had, 6 top 100 players. 4 of them were on the defense. I don't remember anything like that during the last 10, 12, 15 years, really.
No.
So that's where I'm at on it. I just feel like we have to get ready to see that. We have to get ready to see that, because they're gonna keep recruiting them, but some of these dudes ain't gonna ever make it. They may never see the field.
Yeah. But I don't think that you have to go through the level of I don't think you have to go to the level that BV had to do last year. No. Sitting players down and actually just having like brutally honest conversations with guys and telling them like, hey, look, we're gonna, you know, help you get to another place, but you're not going to be able to play here at at OU, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. But all in all, for the defense, man, I'll get a defense pretty much like I say probably a 7 or 8 out of 10. Yeah. I thought the effort was there. I thought the athleticism. I mean, they made some plays. The Bowen interception was beautiful. I thought that for the most part, they understood their assignments. Nobody was trying to play hero ball. Nobody was trying to make up for somebody. There were some lapses on defense, some of the touchdowns or whatnot that happened. But, man, it was kind of like, in my opinion, just sitting there watching it, it felt like I was watching the same offense that they ran against O State this past season was the offense they ran out there last year. They kind of had a bunch of, I wouldn't say crossers, but it was definitely a lot of twin crossing routes trying to confuse those DBs and get them wrapped up. So the DBs had to know, you know, where who they had, if they were switching, if they weren't, you know, who was going inside and who was going out. But speaking of that, let's go ahead and switch gears and go to the offense. What did you think about the offense?
Yeah. Early on, I think it sputtered a little bit, but I think that had something to do with the fact that you had that defense coming out, frothing at the mouth, hitting on all cylinders, getting that push that they're probably not used to seeing a lot of. Now, of course, they have been going ones against ones throughout the spring. I would definitely say that, but I also feel like when you start, I mean, there were some times that they looked really good, and I don't even think that 50-50 ball was that bad. I mean, obviously, Peyton just made a big play on it.
Made a big play. He sat on top of the route the entire time, and he made him work. I was
he was able to run with the guy. So, I mean, it's kind of rare that you see that. Again, it felt like it was – he had no doubt. Hey, Hank, you get it, man. I get it. I love it. Listen, and again, I think that there were some things that early on you saw, particularly with Jackson, and I think Jackson, obviously, we're going to get into him, I guess, a little bit, but I think that you could see Dylan had a good command of everything. There was a couple of plays, you know, Jackson did have that one play where he took off for a touchdown, but he had gotten touched. But it looked good. I mean, I don't know that would have been a tackle. Of course, they didn't hit his ass.
Let's save him. Either. Let's break those two down, and let's save him for later. Okay.
So Gavin Sawchuk looked good at times as well. I think they sputtered a little bit. Lost my camera. I think they sputtered a little bit for a time, but I do feel like you had a situation where you had, I mean, it was just a deal of, I think the defense was a little ahead. And I mean, that's kind of not something that we've seen a lot of for a while. So it's a kind of a good thing. I should be back.
So No, you're good. So I'll say this right here. First off, hey, like, subscribe, follow. Like, subscribe, follow. Not only to the Horns Down podcast, not only to at Chris with a K on Twitter, but also Birdie Man Dub and the Hall of Fame podcast. Come on, man.
Yep.
With that being said, just moving back to the DG, I thought he had good command of the offense. I thought he made a couple of good plays. He got flushed out. He looked more mobile this year. I don't know what the difference was, but he looked more mobile. Maybe it's me watching him on TV opposed to watching him in real life, but he just looked like it just felt like he was a little bit faster when he was on his bootlegs or if he was having to scramble.
Yeah, I think after the injury last year, it seemed like I think he was a little hesitant for a while.
That pass that he threw to Gibson, I was like, oh man, you could have led him. You could have just led him a little bit. That play
needs to catch that football, bro.
Yeah. I mean, Gibson definitely needs to catch. I mean, it looks like he has all the talent in the world, all the intangibles. He just has to be consistent, man. I mean, I think that's pretty much it. That's all that you can say. Did I see a wide receiver really kind of step up today and separate themselves? Not necessarily. I think Farouk is honestly, I think he's your clear number one. I think
he looked good. I thought he looked good. I think Andrell looked good on a couple of plays.
I think Stoops. I mean, I think it's Farouk, Stoops, and Anthony right now, and then you'll see Gavin Freeman sprinkled in there.
Sounds like they really are liking Freeman from everything.
Yeah,
I heard on the broadcast.
I think Nick Anderson is going to be a big target for you this year. I think Jaden Gibson has a chance. He just has to be consistent.
Man. He has to stop dropping footballs, bro. He has got to stop dropping footballs. They're not going to put up with that crap. And you're not going to get the ball if thrown to you if you're not going to catch the ball. Catch the freaking ball.
But in all fairness, he was reaching back. I mean, he turned around to catch
he was not reaching back. He slowed down.
Yeah.
The ball hit him in the chest, bro.
Oh, that's another good point. LV Bunkley as well. I mean, those guys know what they're doing out there. Right. Now here's what I will say. There was a visitor, a Texas visitor. I think we all know who I'm talking about. That was there today. If we could get a guy like that with that speed,
a lock, bro. You can just say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's my feelings about it.
Yeah,
we get him. And don't forget, guys, we still have Pettaway on the way.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I think that there's a lot of guys that I've said this a lot. I think there's a lot of guys that have some proving to do, right? They're unproven. But there's a lot of talent in that room. And some of it hadn't showed up yet. But I think that, like I said, I think that Jaleel is the clear number one right now. I think that, obviously – when you get Jaquez get in there, I don't know if you saw that picture of him after he won like one of his track meets. Good grief, he looks like a linebacker.
Yeah.
And to be running the speeds that what did he run, like a 10-3 a couple of weeks ago or something like that in the 100? Oh. And then you had, and obviously we're talking about our boy from Texas that ran a 10-2 in a college meet just recently. It hit 10-2 split. So, I mean, it is what it is. Oh, come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. That's ridiculous. Did you watch it at all? I mean, can't just put it on just the offense. Come on now.
Hey, Matt, we're talking about Brendan Thompson.
And, we're talking about Brendan Thompson, Matt. He just wanted to get us to say it.
Come on, man. You already know. Kenyon Brown as well. That's another dude.
And he's not there yet either, right?
No.
Yeah. Bro. And that kid's huge. He's a big old kid too. And he's got speed.
I got something to say. Will we ever see Hester play? Because I'm just like, my God, man. Every time I see the kid, he's in a walking boot. I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Again, what's your best ability? Availability.
So I'm gonna say this. So we talked about Gabriel. I thought Gabriel looked good in spots. I thought that mechanics looked a little bit more polished. I'm eager to see what he has what he has in store for the season. I think that he's due for a big season. I think what it's going to boil down to is just how confident is he in his receivers, and is he going to be smart with the ball? He was smart with the ball for, I want to say 80. I want to say about 75% of the season last year. That's just kind of me because I mean the Baylor game, the what other game was that? The Baylor game. Some of those games down the stretch just kind of really stung, you know. Yeah. But moving on, let's talk about Jackson Arnold, man. I thought early on, look, I've said this on other pods, and if you guys saw one of my last episodes of the Horns Down podcast, then you saw me and Jay break down a lot of spring games. And one of the common themes I said was that a lot of these freshmen quarterbacks kind of struggled. So I'm not going to, well, that's kind of a harsh way to put it. They didn't struggle, but they didn't look in command of the offense like you expect them to be. A lot of these 5-stars, I'm talking about Nico, I'm talking about Malachi Nelson, I'm talking about Arch Manning. They didn't come out there and leave you just amazed, by their performance. Now, I'm not going to say Jackson Arnold did anything today that just made me feel like, oh, yeah, he's that guy. He's going to step in. He can step in right now and lead us to a national championship. What I do say is that he's a better athlete than I thought he was.
Yeah.
And I know he played high level Texas high school football, but he's a better athlete than what I thought he was. And then I was like, you know what? He makes good decisions. Drew, don't kill me if you hear me say this, but I will say he is leaps and bounds better than Nick Evers as a freshman at OU last year. If something were to happen to Dylan Gabriel, he's going to step in. They're not going to run out there with Bevel and Booty and run this Wildcat.
No. That's not where we're at now. No, absolutely not. And here's what you saw. And you need to keep it in perspective and realize that what we saw was him being with the twos and running a lot of it. No, you're not being realistic, Norwooding. Be serious, bro. But they're running. He was running with the twos and I think the offensive line looks good. But what we need to remember a lot of this, that, honestly, folks, these guys are going up against a better defense in this game right here than they're going to see most of the season in the Big 12.
Yeah,
they are. Especially along that line, the guys that they've added on that defensive line that are making big plays. You got to realize that it was, and they worked themselves into it and started making some good plays. The throw to Farouk, you had the one to Sawchuk. I mean, these are the kind of things that good offenses do when they get in there and they start, they struggle a little bit against a good defense. They're going to find a way to where they're going to put some points on the board when they need to. It may not be beautiful all the time. And you know what? The game has changed. The game has changed in the Big 12 even. I mean, a lot of the things that we're judging these guys off of, particularly on offense, is what we saw in the early years of Lincoln being in the Big 12 when everybody was scoring a shit ton, and that's just not what this is anymore. And they're building this defense for the SEC, not for the Big 12. So to expect it to be for them to just go out there and walk all over that defense is just silly.
And I don't think that you will want to see that anyway.
No, you don't. And that's the whole thing. We're sitting here calling. I mean, Norwooding, I'm kind of calling you out here because I think it's silly for you to say stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But what would you be saying about the defense if they went out there and did what they usually do? Come on, fellas. Yeah. You can't have it both ways.
If our defense was doing what they usually do, then I would be sitting here just like, I don't know what the season 8-4, 7-3, 7-5 is. That's the sky's the limit at those numbers.
Bro, if you think DJ Graham is wide receiver too, bro, then you should.
Stop. I think he's trolling now.
Stop.
Hey, Carvin, what did Anderson and Gibson look like today? Maybe I overlooked Anderson, and the only time I saw him was on the sideline. I did he play?
Who's that? DJ?
Talk about Nick Anderson.
Oh, Nick Anderson. man. I lost track
Like
of
I told you,
everybody
man,
towards the end of
I
the
saw
game.
him on the sideline. I didn't really see
Yeah.
him with a helmet or anything like that. But Gibson, way too many drops. Kind of the
He's gotta
same
be
old
better than
scenario,
that.
same old story with him.
He's got to stop that, man.
Gotta
He's
be
got to
more
get better.
consistent. That's
Yeah.
all it is, man. He's just got to be more
Catch the ball,
consistent.
bro. Just catch the football. Good things happen.
Now, Hank. Now, I may agree with. I'm not. I'm in between Hank and Norwooding. I mean, I got a love-hate relationship with Bevel. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm just
Listen,
keep
man.
it
I was
all
hoping
the
that it
way.
was true that he was actually. I was hoping that he was actually moving to tight end. I was.
I mean, he threw some good balls, man.
He did.
Threw some
He
good
did.
back
Listen,
shoulder passes.
we bust on Bevel a lot, and for good reason. When you do that in the Red River game, what do you expect, right? It is what it is.
What I was gonna say, that pass, that one pass that he got, that I think, now I will give Norwooding that. Graham did kind of bail him out on that one, but
Sure.
he made a hell of a play when he. I was like, whoa.
Right. No, I give you that. And look, no, all I'm saying is it's not about you. I don't have a problem with anybody saying things negative. You know, I mean, I understand that. And we're gonna call it like it is too.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at what I just had to say, what I'm saying about Jaden Gibson. I'm sick of watching this guy freaking drop footballs. I'm sick of seeing it. You got nothing but upside as far as that goes. You just have to catch the damn ball. So I don't have a problem with calling it like it is. It is what it is. Right. But here's the deal. What are you going to say if they're out there lighting up the scoreboard from start to finish? And you got to realize that the offense did get into its groove. Dylan ended up with 3 touchdowns. You know, it wasn't as bad as it looked. And I'm glad that they had to work for it, man. I'm glad that they had to work for it.
If we're going to talk about anything, let's talk about the offensive line and the run game. I didn't think that they had the best day today. Look, coming into the spring game, if you've been keeping up with a lot of the tea leaves, I'm sure Parker, I'm sure Brandon have filled everybody in. If you're subscribed to them over there on Sooner Insider, definitely subscribe if you're not. But through all the other tea leaves and everything that I've heard, everybody that I've talked to, the offense, I'm just gonna be honest with you, the offense has won more of the battles than what you would probably think. They've had some of the better days throughout this spring, spring practices. But today the defense just came in, and I thought that they had a great showing, man. I mean, I think that's kind of what you want. And I think what we have to go back to is to the guy who was honored today. Look at Kyler Murray. Look at
we were going to start talking about that, man.
Yeah, look at Baker. Look at Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
They didn't have the greatest days. They got picked off in the spring games. It wasn't like they went out there and lit the world on fire, but you still felt really excited.
Right.
You still felt really excited about what that season was going to hold for them. So kind of the same thing for me right now.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, to me, because you've heard a lot of it, and I even heard Trap the other day talking about that it might be getting challenged. The DG might be getting a real challenge from this guy, and I think he looked like a freshman when it comes to Jackson. I do. I think he looked like a freshman. I think that you saw some good signs out of him. He's definitely. I agree with what you were talking about when it comes to he's better prepared, more ready than Nick was at this time last year. I think that Nick looks really good in spring camp for Wisconsin, but I don't think that he was ready at this point last year.
Yeah.
And I think that Jackson's going to look a lot better when the fall gets here also, you know what I mean? But I think that right now, this is clearly Dylan Gabriel's team. I'm glad to see that because I don't want Jackson to have to jump in there before he should.
But I don't think he should be redshirted either. I mean, we got him. Yeah,
I don't think that there's a need for that. I just don't see a need in it. I mean, I understand where people are talking about that you probably want General Booty to be the number 2 because in the case that like emergency go in right now quarterback. But in the long term, I think it's always going to be Jackson Arnold. I mean, if you have a long-term injury or even a game or two injury, you're going to prepare Jackson and you're going to let him play, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you kind of have to. I would
Yeah,
think.
no,
That's my thoughts.
I think with the expectations going, I mean, around this team this year and around this season, I think that Venables has the same energy but different perspective this year.
Right.
I think that he's going to keep the same coaching style, but I think that he's going to be in a lot of people's asses this year for sure. If you're not doing your job, then somebody else will. You know,
Been
I think
hearing that
that's
a
what
lot,
they're talking.
You've been hearing that a lot where he was on Keith Lawrence a lot apparently the last couple of weeks where he's like,
Yeah,
get his ass out of here, I heard it a bunch where he's saying, hey, we've seen this movie before, get him out, and hey, if that's what it's going to take, then that's fine. And Carvin, you're right, the defense is supposed to be ahead of the offense at this point, and again, I think that if we come out here and the other part of it that you got to remember too, and this is something that nobody's really brought up, they're going to be really vanilla on offense in the spring game. You think they're going to show something?
I was surprised that we didn't see the same offense that we saw last year. A lot of just
The same plays
routes.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
a lot of stick and curl routes. I mean, he did mix it up a little bit,
he did.
and I think they're still putting that offensive line together. Obviously, you had some of your guys out.
Yeah, you did.
Definitely excited about seeing Savion Bird out there along with Raim. I think that's going to be big. I think that's going to be key.
I want to say Tawee looked really good too.
Yeah.
Though, by the way, I want to say that.
Yeah.
I liked him. Gavin, as good as Gavin looked, I enjoyed seeing Tawee run the ball like that. Man.
I'll tell you this right here. I really like Hicks. I do
too.
Hicks.
I think that, but I think he got in behind that bad line, not bad line, but the second line that isn't going to be a starter. So you don't get to see as much of what you probably wanted to see out of him.
Hicks and Smothers to me are, in my opinion, I think they're kind of like Trey Sermon, Kennedy Brooks 2.0. I think they have all the potential in the world to be way better than them.
Wow.
I think Smothers, only knock I have on Smothers right now, I think that hitting the weight room and getting bigger.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think that's
the difference that you see in Tawee and those guys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think Hicks already looks the part, but I think a guy like Smothers, I think, hey, look, has all the talent in the world. You saw some of the things today, speed, all of that. He has that. He looks like a guy that is going to be extremely elusive out there. Mm-hmm. And I think that once he gets in the weight room and he can shed tackles and he gets that on him, you know what I'm saying? He gets with Smitty.
And he'll even get more speed off of that too, man.
Exactly.
That's the crazy thing about it, is that he'll get faster.
Yeah. So I think your running back room is going to be just fine. Hopefully, they say everything is all well with Barnes. So you're just waiting for him to get back. I guess, we had a conversation about guys like Shane Witter, Marcus Stripling. I guess, are you thinking the same thing about Marcus Majors as well?
I've been thinking that, dude. The guy's he's another, we've said the same thing about him when it comes to being available, and he just hasn't been because of, and it's not all his fault.
Yeah.
But again, at this point, when you start seeing the writing on the wall, you've got guys coming in. They're recruiting, the guys that they're recruiting for next year are going to be ridiculous. And I just feel like Marcus is at a point where, I mean, man, go get you some time somewhere. Go down the, God forbid, but go down the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get you a look, because right now I don't see you getting a look here. Gavin's entrenched. I think that unless Javonte is really hurt to where he's not going to be back in the fall, I don't know where you even get any look. Right?
Yeah.
I just don't see that you're going to have a lot of opportunity to do so. And then if you don't do something with the one or two runs that you get right away early in the season, I mean, do they forget about you? I don't know.
Matt asks, why did the O-line look so bad for Jackson Arnold? I mean, hell, you can say the same for Dillon Gabriel at times. That just the pocket collapse, man. And I think that one of the things for Arnold that he has to learn, he's doing the same thing that Dillon did last year. And I pray that Dillon does not do that this year. Can't take coverage.
Holding the football.
Yeah, can't hold the football and take coverage sacks. Can't do that.
Right. And I think that's something that and you got to think about with Dylan. I mean, he played at UCF and he was great, but you weren't dealing with the guys in that CUSA or the American Conference, whatever the hell it is that they're in now. You ain't dealing with the guys that you're dealing with in the Big 12, and certainly not in the SEC.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those things where you got a lot more speed, you got a lot more big boys that are going to get through that line. I would think that the offensive line, it again, like you said, there's some injuries there, a couple of injuries there, but and what they were saying, I mean, I know BV's happy about some of these young kids, but the fact is, if you're playing freshmen on the line, on that starting line, that's not going to be a good thing when you got guys like Bothroyd on the other side. You know, it's just not a good thing.
No.
So,
you know, one of the things that, and just kind of flipping back to defense real quick, is that, you know, you've heard that OU's kind of had some trouble in some of the earlier practices with setting the edge. You didn't see that today. So a couple of times where Tawee and some other backs were able to kind of hit that edge and gain a lot of yards, but it wasn't often that happened. So, I mean, that looked like.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? That means you got real athletes on the outside linebacker position and at the corner. And then they're going to get to the football. That again, they should have a hard time setting the edge against this defense, folks. They should.
Yeah. Man, like I said, I definitely feel like this team has improved. I feel like Team 129 has encouraged me to really, you know, start reevaluating the 9-3, 8-4, 9-3, 10-2 kind of ceilings for this team. I'm definitely optimistic, but I mean, it's just kind of one of those wait and see mentalities, to be honest with you. You know, I think that we'll have a good idea of what we're supposed to look like after these first 3 games of the season, but we won't really know what we're truly made of until we face Texas in Game 5. To be honest with you, I think Cincinnati.
Well, you're gonna deal with a real defense in that first conference game because you got Iowa State.
Yeah,
but aside from that, yes, you're right. I think that when it all boils down to it, yeah, those early games. I mean, they were going to have a game with Georgia. They had to replace that game with Arkansas State, and then they got Tulsa, and
I think we got Missouri State, SMU, then we go to Tulsa, and then I want to say we're home against Cincinnati. I'm not really sure.
Nope, it's on the road. That one's on the road.
Oh,
so what's their third out of conference game though? It's Tulsa, Arkansas State, and SMU. They got SMU. That's right. So you're not going to get a great look there. But I think that when you have that opening Big 12 game, you know, and you go up against a defense that's going to be like what Iowa State's is, because as bad as they were offensively last year, they were still a top 10 defense, you know, and they had a freshman quarterback. So I think that may be more of a trap game than people realize right off the bat. So my feeling is that you get through that one, you're going to get a real look at what it's going to look like offensively for sure, because they're going to do well in the trenches. And I would say about that offensive line, I mean, look, if they looked really good, then what would we be saying about the defensive line, which is what we're really worried about, right? Yeah. That's what we really are worried about coming into this season. Is what are they going to get some push for once? Are they going to get into the backfield and get some pressure on these quarterbacks? If they hadn't have done that, then that's a concern. And the fact that is, yes, they have some injuries along the line. They do. And they've got a couple of freshmen in there. So, I mean, to have a freshman going up against Rondell Bothroyd, bro, you know what I mean? That's tough.
Yeah, no.
Tough assignment.
But to answer Norwood, yeah, I mean, we said that a few times. There are definitely some injuries on the offensive line. I think guys like Rouse, Schaefer Kid. I mean, some of your transfers, your key transfers that you were wanting to get a look at.
The guys from Stanford, and yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, let's be honest about this. Bill Bedenbaugh's unit has been the most consistent on this team forever. You know what I mean? So I'm not real worried about that either.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, and that's been a consistent part. I'm not saying that they've been incredible these past few years, but they've been a consistent part of this team, at least for as far as effort, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't
Right.
think we learned nothing from Iowa
But
at the
the
D.
D is losing a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what you know about that defense is that Matt Campbell, that's what they do. That's what they do,
Mhm.
and that's probably where they recruit the best too. So, I mean, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. I would hope that for sure. I mean, I don't want to go into the Texas game. I don't want to be. That's the first place that you learn something about these guys.
Yeah, I would
I
love to
hope
go in
that's
there.
not
Yeah.
a
But you know
little
that's
a
always a
little something.
benchmark though. That's always a benchmark of the
Of course,
season.
it's the benchmark. That's the best team you're going to play.
Uh-huh.
That's the best team you're going to play. The most talent at every position that they're going to deal with all season is right there.
Mhm.
The next best team would probably be if you ended up against K-State in the championship game or something like that, because I think that they're going to be good. But thankfully, Oklahoma doesn't have to play them.
Play guy.
Yeah.
But with that being said, man, we've been going for about an hour now. So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and wrap this up. Jason, tell everybody where they can find you at, man.
Find me at Birdieman Dub on Twitter. Also, the podcast is at CFB-pod on YouTube. Obviously, you can find us on all your audio places as well. And then on our website is hofmedia.us. That's hofmedia.us. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Man, hey, I appreciate you, bro. I know I've been trying to get you on and some things that came up, but hey, we finally hit it off today. But I
Okay,
will
man.
say this to end it. Look, first off, Texas fans, please hate me for saying this. Jackson Normal is definitely better than Arch Manning, at least for right now. That's all I had to say about that one. Definitely encouraged, like I said, encouraged with the improvements that I saw across the board on offense and defense. I think there's work to be done on both sides, obviously. But going out there today, there wasn't going to be that much shown. You just wanted to see effort and see guys get off the ball and see what they look like. So, like I said, just to kind of run back through the notes again, I think your secondary is going to be the strongest part of your defense, at least right now. Your D line and linebackers have a chance. Your front seven has a chance to be really, really good. But you just got to get the right guys out there and figure out the right lineups, right? But the athleticism and a cheated position, I think, is going to be key for us this year, because I don't think there's going to be a drop off between Harrison and then McCullough. I think that you're going to there's going to be a 1 and a 1A who separates from each other. I think that McCullough gets the nod at the end, but I wouldn't be surprised if Harrison is out there an awful lot or eating up some of those snaps. And then, like I said, on offense, man, hey, I think Jackson Arnold has a chance to be that guy. I thought he had really good command of the offense today. Just didn't really get to see him pass or do a lot of things. Offensive line is kind of a lunch pail group right now, kind of a patchwork group, simply because of all the injuries. But I thought Gabriel looked good in spots. They were able to move the ball, do different things like that. And, they picked up hard yardage. They picked up some hard yards, especially on the ground. But definitely excited about guys that are coming in, some of the incoming freshmen that you think can make an impact, the Pettaways, the Browns, guys like that. But also, just excited for everybody to get healthy again as well. So when we're all clicking on all cylinders or whatnot, I think that we're going to look like a different team. So excited about that. But with that being said, man, I think the next time that we all reconvene and meet, man, hopefully we're talking about a lot of recruits that are being crystal balled or have already committed. So with that being said, guys, it's been another episode of the Horns Down Podcast. Like, subscribe, share, all of those things. Hit us up for sure.